to Stitching Ewe and More podcast. I'm Amanda, your host, also known as Little Panda 518 on Ravelry and Instagram. I spend most of my time on Instagram, but you can catch me on Ravelry sometimes. So I want to say a huge thanks for y'all that are still here, and if you kind of are new and found me for the first time, I incredibly appreciate it. I'm kind of somewhat back from my hiatus. I'm gonna try to get back onto a regular recording schedule, so we will see how that goes. So kind of what I've been up to. Life has just been crazy, and a couple things have just kind of taken over, and I lost my knitting mojo there for a while, and I wasn't in the mindset to record. And when I record podcasts, I want to be here fully with you guys because I enjoy spending time with you and speaking with you. So now that I'm trying really hard to get back on the upside swing of things. But to be honest to all y'all, depression is not fun. That's what I've kind of been battling these last couple months. Things have just not been so great, and they've been really bumpy. But I'm trying to work past it, and I'm now back with y'all. And you guys can kind of see the mess behind me. Yep, both sides. So I've kind of been working here and there on a couple things. I have no idea what I showed you guys on my last podcast. And of course I didn't take the time to go back and look because I was kind of finally in the mood to record. So I'm like, I'm gonna go do this while I'm in the mood to do so. So starting off, I'll start with finished objects and I'll kind of go from there. So if you guys can't tell, my flax sweater is done. I did it 3/4 sleeve. This sweater actually fits, so this is first sweater take 2. Because I knit my first sweater, if you guys will go back towards probably the very beginning of the podcast, somewhere around there, I was knitting a cardigan out of this exact same yarn. And I was chatting with the girls on the BKN, and I hadn't worn it, I didn't like the fit of it, and so I frogged the entire sweater. But on a plus note, I had it blocked, and it was nice and pretty laying out, so I measured my row gauge and my stitch gauge, and so that was kind of the gauge I used to go with this sweater. I really like this one. I've worn it a couple times. I've gotten tons of compliments on it, but for the next sweater I work on, that's raglan shape, I need to figure out how to fix this issue. Like, I don't know if on the raglan part I just went too long, but I've kind of got a little poof going on under each arm. So I try to keep it pulled down and it doesn't bunch up as bad. So if you guys have any help with that, totally appreciate it. Leave me a note in the Ravelry group or on the YouTube video where you're watching. So what else do I have? And I'm going to be doing lots of spins, so just get used to it. So I don't think I have showed you guys this yet. It was just kind of a, it was one of the hats that I did for winter camp, I believe. Yes, I think I did. I think it was my February project for winter camp that was hosted by Sarah of the Canadian Knitter, and we worked with, there was like 7 or so podcasts, maybe 6 podcasts, 6, 7, it was around there. We all kind of worked together and we hosted different cabins, and it was tons of fun, so be on the lookout for it for next year. But this was just kind of a little hat I put together because we had used the colors. I believe the color of that month was I do have words, y'all. I think the color was either pink or orange, and this has both. I'm thinking about possibly sending this to my niece because she goes head over heels about whatever I send, and it fits my head, but I think it'll fit my niece's head just a smidge better, so that may be off in the mail here pretty soon. Here's another thing, and the girls kind of laughed at me because we were nearing the end of camp, and I'm like, I must knit, and of course, you know, insomnia struck, and I didn't really have much else to do, so I was watching, I think at that time I was binging Forged in Fire, which is on the History Channel, and it's a competition that has 4 blacksmiths, and it kind of has the different rounds, so they start with 4, and as each round goes, a person gets eliminated, and it's all about bladesmithing and forging weapons out of ball bearings or pieces of cars. So I found it really interesting. So I was binge watching that, and I made an entire shawl. So we kind of go across. So it's bulky yarn. Came out a lot smaller than I was hoping. So, oh, sorry, totally just kicked the tripod. Must keep feet still. So I think this also may possibly go to my niece. My nieces live in northern Indiana, so they, you know, can probably still get some use out of it now and definitely this winter. And so that may be off in the mail too. So I really like that. The white yarn is just a generic yarn from Walmart, and the gradient is a nylon wool blend, but it's a higher quality. Like most of the yarn is nylon, so it kind of feels a little funky, but it's very springy and smushy. Kind of sad that it's not even big enough for a shawlette, because if I tried putting it on, I mean, I guess if I used a shawl pin it would be okay, but it just kind of has the big, yeah, I didn't like the way it fit me, so that'll probably go in the gift box. Oops, throwing things at myself. And my other finished object that I have is Dr. Boo, is what I think. I was having a hard time naming him, and I was talking to the girls on the VKN, and one of them mentioned Doctor Who, and so we kind of joked around that my bear would be Dr. Boo. So of course I had to add a red fez to his head. I still need to make the tassel, but the rest of him is all done. I made him out of I Love This Yarn from Hobby Lobby, and I'd won the yarn in a gift box from my work actually. So it was a free pattern. I don't remember, but I know my dear friend that writes my show notes for me will link up my project page so y'all can have the pattern for him too. But next time, I was kind of tweaking the pattern a little bit, because the pattern I found, the bear was incredibly cute, but it came out of DK yarn, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna use worsted because that's what I have. But I went up too many hook sizes. So in the area where he's stuffed quite a bit, because I have a tendency to stuff Stuffy's necks really hard, because I don't want the head to be like all super floppy. But you can kind of see some stuffing in some areas, so next time I make him, I'm definitely going to go down a hook size or two. So that's another completed thing. I'm sure y'all are having fun looking at the back of my head. And I think that is all of my finished projects that I remembered to bring in here, because I don't know what else I finished. So yeah, girls, help me out. If I have finished anything else and I didn't show it, please let me know, and I will show on my next podcast. So we will move right into my work in progresses, and I have quite a few of those. So we will start with crochet stuff, because when I originally started this podcast, it was to focus on crocheting, since there wasn't that many crocheting podcasts out there. But then I really got back into my knitting patterns, and I've been doing a ton of knitting, and so I brought the hooks back out. Now this is pretty big, and I'm not going to be able to see what y'all can see, because it's going to have to cover my face, and when I go to edit this, if it doesn't look good, I will just put in a picture. So I am working on the crochet mandala. It is made by the same people who did Sophie's Universe last year. So it's it's a crochet knit along. No, wrong words. It's a crochet along that has 18 weeks of clues. They just released week 8 as of this recording, and I am up to week 6. So I am slowly getting caught up. The pattern first came out back in March, and so we were still working on winter camp things, and I wasn't casting on or starting new projects that I couldn't finish during winter camp because I wanted the points. So this is completely gorgeous, and I really hope you guys got a good view of this. Maybe if I hold, I can kind of see the camera now. So there is 6 weeks in. This thing is going to be heavy, but it is already so amazing, and I just want to keep working on it. So after I finish this, I'm gonna probably go work on week 7 and try to get caught up a little bit more. So we'll just throw things on the ground because that's how this goes. So then, let me just pull all these up so I don't have to keep turning, because I'm sure that's probably making some of y'all seasick. So let's see if Amanda can balance project bags on her lap. So in my bag that is made by my dear friend Rachel, who is Love Knots, she made this cute little thing for me. And this is typically the bag that travels in my purse with me, because of course, what knitter goes anywhere without yarn and needles? So I am knitting a sock out of this one. This is really dark colored yarn, and I'm gonna try not to dump stuff off my lap, but I don't think that's gonna do any justice. Yep, no. Okay, well, that's kind of better. But it's a really dark sock. If you follow me on Instagram, I've posted a couple pictures there. I'm knitting it out of Patton's Croy sock. Do I have the tag? Hey, I'm a good podcaster. I have the tag. This is in the Clover Colors colorway. So it's a barber pole with green and navy and dark blue. So if you guys can't really tell, because me looking in the camera, it looks like a black blob. But I did my typical 64 stitch count sock. I'm not a huge fan of ribbing, so I think I do typically like 10 or 12 rows. I typically do 30 rows on the leg because I like shorty socks. I do the fish lips kiss heel, and I did the traditional kind of decrease around, knit around, decrease around. So my typical sock. So I've got this one going, and I know my sister watches my podcast sometimes, but I don't know if she has here lately. But I'm actually making, this is my pair of socks, but I'm going to get some other yarn that matches this, and I'm going to make us matching socks so we can have sister socks. So while I'm on the sock kick, let's go into this bag. And I don't think y'all have seen this bag. So I participated in the Pigskin Party knit along hosted by Downseller Studio back during the last football season, and I actually won a grand prize. And come to think of it, I left like half of that stuff in the living room. But I've posted a picture on Instagram. But out of the prize package, I won some Lose Me Nots by Jambi Smiley. I won a gift certificate of $75 worth of yarn to Knitting Brewing Company, which I spent the same day that I received the code for that, because that was fun shopping when it wasn't my money. I got a little metal sheep needle minder for cross stitch. I received the Adelaide cowl, I believe. And then I also won a little Notions pouch that's kind of mesh, and it's a different style than what I'm used to seeing in Notions pouches, but it's really cute. And then I won this bag by Prairie Bag Works, and it's a beautiful bag. And it's awesome because it has pockets on the inside. So I've got I don't know if you guys can see, yeah, there you go. So I have a pocket on this side and this side of the bag on the inside. So this set, I am working on yet another sock. So I watch Foxes and Socks podcast pretty religiously, and they were putting out an Adventure Foxy cowl, I believe. And so it's a really cool concept because they had 5 different categories, and they drew out of each category, so you had 5 things to put in your project. And for each of the categories you included in your project, when you finish it, that's how many times you get entered into the cowl. So I had a fun one, and it was a bunch of firsts. So my project was fingering weight yarn, a blue color with color work. What was the other one? I have all 5 things in this sock. and I don't remember, but I know everything fits in here. So the cream yarn is fingering weight, and then in the variegated was the other part. So my heel here is variegated and it has blue, and then the leg of the sock is color work. I think there's a little bit better light over here. And so this is the first time I've ever done color work, which I'm pretty proud of myself for doing a sock in color work, and it actually fits. It's a little bit snug getting the color work over my heel, but it totally goes, and I love it. So the cream yarn is actually loops and thread wool-like. I've been wanting to try this as a pair of socks for a little while because it is uber cheap at the store, and I want to see how it wears. So this will be my test sock, and I'll come back in after I wear it a couple times and kind of see how it wears. And then the color work part and the heel is it's a Serenity yarn, and I believe it's a sport weight, but it's not a very heavy sport weight, so I feel okay mixing the two. And it is Serenity Garden yarn, and it's 100% microfiber. So that was another thing that I was kind of interested in, and it's in the Gems colorway. So this is kind of my my test sock to see how it's like wearing 100% microfiber. And I used that on the heel because I figured it would be a little bit sturdy, and I wanted to give the loops and thread a chance of not rubbing on my heel when I wear my socks. So we will see. And I wanted that little extra pop of color. So I have one sock done here, and I have started the other sock, and when I have I have stitches coming off the needle. That's perfect, Amanda. So, alright, we are back on. So once again, it's my typical, well no, this isn't my typical. This is actually, I went up to 72 stitches, and the pattern has you decrease down to 70 because the color work is a 10 stitch repeat. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's the Equal sock. It's EQUAL, and it's a pretty awesome pattern, and it's actually the first knitting chart that I really followed that didn't have like a written part to go with it. So I'm doing really well there. And I did a lot of this sock the other night. I had the cuff done because I'd been doing the cuff on my lunch breaks at work, and I knit the entire leg and the heel of this sock in one night on the VKN. So I just have to get down to the heel, or down to the toe, because I've done the heel, silly Amanda. But I'm going to get down to the toe and leave like 1 or 2 rows in the Kitchener bind off until stash dash. And that's a whole nother thing. So you won't really see, if I get another podcast out before the end of the month, don't expect to see anything finished because I'm saving everything for stash dash. I'm going to finish showing you guys my work in progresses, and then I will talk about stash dash. So keeping on the sock train, I have another pair of socks, and you will find something interesting about this pair. They are on double points. So this was a first for me. I have never knit socks on double points, and I'm using Knit Picks Felici in the Candy Jar colorway. This came from a dear friend because everyone remembers the Knit Picks fiasco of 2015. And so I had a dear friend send me the Candy Jar. And these needles I'm in love with. I probably would have never purchased them before, but Webb's was having their amazing, I believe, 42nd birthday big sale. And so these are actually the Blackthorn DPNs. And these are a size 0 because they were out of size 1s when I finally got around and decided to order. So this sock is 72 stitches. I figured if I was going down a needle size. but I may have to run away and have a love affair with these needles. I absolutely love them, and I will be keeping my eye out for when Webb's puts them on sale again, because this girl can't do $35 for a set of needles, but this girl likes these needles, so we will see how that goes. And I'm about halfway down the foot of this sock too. So, I'm gonna slide these back in here. And I don't know, but I may be turning Team DPN because I'm in love with these needles, but we will see. Magic Loop is still my go-to, but we will see. So that is all my socks, but I have a shawl going on. Hang on one second, I need to duck out of the camera and probably make a little bit of noise. Yeah, because what I think. Sorry guys. Okay, so I had to reach for it. We'll pull the yarn out. So I have the Pebble Beach shawl on the needles. Well, not technically on the needles, but they're technically on a cable. Yeah, I had to steal the needles. So this is the Pebble Beach by Curious Handmade. And her name is totally escaping me right now. And I'm totally showing you the back, so let's show you the pretty front. So I made it out, I'm about 40 rows in, and once again, this is wool-like. That is so dark. It is not that dark in person. But this is wool-like, the loops and thread wool-like. I will eventually get my words together, y'all. It's been a while since I've done this. So I'm about 40 rows in, and that's about as big as it is, and it'll eventually get its needles back. Okay, and for the other shawl, this kind of leads into, I'm going to kind of talk about DFW while I show you this, because this kind of all wraps together. So I got invited to go to Dallas to the DFW Fiber Festival with some friends, and we were staying at a friend of a friend, and so that was really nice. So I got to go, and we didn't have to pay for a hotel room, so that was really nice. We drove down on the Friday. We got in just enough time to kind of do a little bit of a lap around the vendors, and we hit our main, we had a couple of vendors that it was like off the bat we were going there. For my friend's, Mustache was the #1 stop, and she had an amazing location. She was right in front of the door, which was you walk in the convention hall and she's the first booth you see. So that was nice. We kind of walked around. I was very, very overwhelmed Friday night. The DFW was my first ever fiber festival, and so just the sheer amount of yarn and goodies and amazing people from the knitting community, it was yeah, quite overwhelming. So I just kind of walked around a little bit. It did take me a little bit to kind of get used to the situation, but we walked around for a little bit. We made one complete lap, and we hit Mustache, and then we went and hit Mad Tosh, and then we hit a couple other booths, and then we somehow ended up back at Mad Tosh, because one of the ladies in my knit group, Mad Tosh is the majority of her stash. So I did make a purchase at Mad Tosh on our second trip, and we decided that within our knit group we were going to cast on a shawl, and we did powdered snow. And it was kind of funny because all three of us ended up buying Mad Tosh that night to go back to the friend's house, and we all cast on the shawl together. And then a couple of the ladies that were back home here in Arkansas went ahead and cast on, you know, within the few days that we cast on. So I've got a huge chunk of this done, and I've got the yarn in my Yarn-It, so I'm gonna have it to try to not have it fall off my lap. So this is Mad Tosh. I cannot pronounce the colorway name, so look on my project page that will so kindly be linked. I have the first section done. It's a really cool texture pattern going on. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt, but totally worth it. And I just started the cable section, so I think I'm 2 rows short of having one of the cable sections done, and there's about 32 rows of the cable section, and then the third section is just kind of ribbing. So it is a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to really say a whole lot about it, but these are the needles that I had to steal from the Pebble Beach. So I've got that going on. I'm almost through the first ball of yarn. And they have that much left. So once this has kind of been sitting in timeout a little bit while I've been working on socks, because honestly I haven't had the brain power, and there's a lot of cabley goodness moving stuff around. I'll just put it that way. It's not hard, it's just you kind of have to have the brain power to keep up with the pattern. And this is in my bag from Rainstorm Studios. This was my custom bag that I had her make. And that reminds me, didn't show you, but this bag is also Rainstorm Studios, and I won this from a previous cow, which I don't remember if I showed you guys this or not. But yeah, that was a bag I won. And I can show you right here. This is what, here I can keep kicking the camera. I have it too close to me. I'm normally not this close, so sorry y'all. So if you guys can, I think it's focused there. If you can read that, that is a word I cannot pronounce. But it's Matache Twist Light, and this is the speckly goodness in the skein. So I really like that. The speckles are the way to my heart. Yes, yes indeed. So I have one more project, and this one also ties in with some friends. So a couple of weeks ago, I don't know, it's probably back during winter camp actually, there was a couple of the girls talking about making another, we were all talking about what sweater we were going to make next. And the mama vertebrae kind of came up, and we batted ideas back and forth. And then a lot of us settled on, well, settled's a bad word. We decided that our next sweater was going to be the mama vertebrae, so we all cast it on together. So, and this is really awesome because this fabric, that it was ironed, but then I've had the bag smushed up on the couch. So this awesome fabric is from my friend Brandy, who is Eat My Yarns on Instagram and Ravelry. And she made herself a bag out of this exact same fabric, so we are bag twinsies. And I have, oh, and this is a perfect thing because I bought a sweater quantity of On the Rocks from Knitter's Brewing Company from the yarn that I won from the pigskin party. And so I have it all caked up in yummy goodness. There we go. That's kind of pretty true to color. It's this awesome chocolatey brown. I wanted to go for a neutral sweater because I am always freezing to death in my office at work. So I was going to make a neutral color that I could wear with anything. So I cast it on. And I'm only this far. Yeah, that's a whole lot of sweater. It can be a mustache. Or I can tie my hair back, but it is not a sweater. It will eventually be a sweater though. And I am using my awesomely made stitch markers. Let me see if I can get this one to lay flat. These are my stitch markers that I got from Meeeeee on Etsy. And so they are the yoga chakra stitch markers. So they have each bead, well, they all have the Buddha kind of sitting in the lotus position. And my needles are hitting the tripod, sorry. And then each one of the stitch markers has a different color for the different chakras. So I've got that cast on. We all cast on the same night. And then I haven't picked it up again because I've been working on socks and things I didn't have to follow a pattern for. But I'm calling this the Spine-Along. So hashtag Spine-Along on Instagram if any of y'all want to join. I have a lot of the VKN gals knitting along, so you'll be seeing Mama Vertebraes on a couple of the other podcasts of the girls from the VKN. Let's see, so is that all I'm working on? yes, that is all the knit and crochet projects that I'm working on. I do have quite a bit of stash because I've received some really amazing packages. I didn't bring it all in here with you, but I've thanked people through Instagram, and I'm putting out a blanket statement of, if you have sent me a package, if you have gifted me a pattern, I graciously appreciate it. And I hit the hangers on the door. Let's not make that noise. And every time I opened a package or opened Ravelry and saw that I had a pattern gifted to me, it really brought my spirits up and kind of helped me through some of those harder days. But I do have some of my yummy stash from DFW. So I do have 2 skeins of the Madtosh that I was knitting the shawl out of. This might be a little noisy because they are in a plastic bag, but I'm going to try to be quiet. So we hit up, I should probably do this in the order I bought them. That makes a whole lot more sense, huh? And this one, and okay, hopefully I'm done moving out of camera. So my first purchase was the Madtosh on Friday night, and that was all I bought Friday night because, let's just say, having a hard time doesn't mix well with loud and large crowds. So it took me a little bit to kind of get adjusted, and we didn't stay super long Friday night. We kind of made our round, and then the 2 girls I was with stopped at the massage booth and got massages. So they had a good time. I wasn't real keen on letting someone touch me because my pain was kind of through the roof after traveling in a car for like 5 hours. So Friday night we went and had, I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but it was a really awesome barbecue restaurant where we walked in and there's like this massive kind of grill sitting there, and it has any meat you could think of and corn on the cob and baked potatoes, and you just tell them what you want. They push your tray down, they weigh it, they charge you by the pound, and you go eat your yummy food. So I ended up getting some shrimp, and it was shrimp, bacon, and jalapeno peppers on, it was kind of like a kebab thing, and I was not I can normally handle jalapenos as long as they don't have the seeds. So I think I got maybe 5 pieces of shrimp, and I made it through about 2. The first one was completely fine, but I'm pretty sure the second jalapeno piece I bit into had a seed, and my mouth was on fire. So I ate some corn on the cob, and I ate some of the French fries that we got to share, and I had to stop eating because my mouth was on fire. So after that, we went back to our friend's place. We all cast on our shawls, just kind of chatted the evening away, went to bed, and then we were up bright and early on Saturday. We went to an amazing breakfast place. It was kind of like a bar. Yeah, alcohol that early in the morning, kind of crazy, but not a bad idea. But I had really good pancakes. They were very lemony, which I love lemon. And a couple of the other girls, one had French toast and the others had eggs Benedict. And all the food was amazing. We ended up actually eating breakfast there Saturday and Sunday. And then we went off to the Fiber Festival at the convention hall. And there was a lot more people that day. And we kind of walked around, and I ran into Jeanette from the Bookish Stitcher. I was super excited to see her in person, and so I kind of split off from the group I came with, and I walked around with Jeanette for a little bit, and we got to chit chat and take some awesome pictures, and we had a blast. Hi! I forgot a couple things, so here's Amanda from the future. So while I was in DFW, I don't know how I could forget to show this, but I got my first Arnie and Carlos Regia. This came from Jeanette, the Bookish Stitcher. Since I got to meet her for the first time, she gave me a little present. And I also got one of her little pins for her podcast. And also another thing that I wanted to point out, because I learned this little trick when I was in Dallas, because one of the ladies that I had traveled with actually had one. So we all know that I store my crochet hooks and my interchangeable needles in this awesome little pen case. So instead of pens, I have crochet hooks and interchangeable needles. Well, my cords were kind of getting all crazy because they were just kind of shoved in here. So now I have my fixed circulars. I just have them in a couple sock sizes and they all fit nicely in here now. And from my friend, I learned this. So it was quite hysterical when I found this, because I bought this one at Hobby Lobby. I got this one at Michael's. And this was the only pattern they had at Michael's. So I decided that that was a sign I needed to buy this. So if you're wearing headphones, give me like 2 seconds. Okay. So it's Velcro. And it has a bunch of pockets. So I have the little tighteners for the interchangeables and tapestry needles. And then I have my plastic stitch markers. And then they have little pages. So I have my ring stitch markers. I have my dangly stitch markers. And then just some other stitch markers that didn't have room for on the previous page. And then I have 2 more where I'm keeping my cables when I'm not using them on projects. So, and then I have the little stoppers. So this is pretty nifty, and I can throw it in my bag and go, and I have all of my notions together. This is actually a bead case from Michael's. So you're supposed to have like the little glass beads. This is storage for those, but I use it for knitting notions. And you can see, oh, this side. I have my little wooden needle gauge that I got at one of my LYS's, the Twisted Pearl. I think it was like 50 cents, and it has been a lifesaver. And then on the zipper, I had mentioned in a VKN that I was wanting to get, let me see, there we go. I wanted to get some kitty snips. And at my LYS, it was like $9. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I don't need them right now. Well, my dear friend Tanya came to visit. She took a trip with one of the other ladies from the VKN down to Chicago, and she mailed out some packages, and I got my kitty snips. Made me very, very happy. It's just the small things in life that mean so much. So, I think that is it. Double check the table. Oh, no, one more thing. During this time, I've been working on my cross stitch, and you'll see it is a little bit different this time. This is my Panda of Epicness, which is pretty awesome. It's going to take me forever, but my goal is to have it done by my 30th birthday, so I might need to get trucking a little bit more. But I made myself a grime guard, and the grime guard helps hold all that extra fabric that was flowing out everywhere. It's now contained. And because I suck at making decisions and I have my hair on it, I have all of my needle minders except for my little sheep because I keep forgetting to put them on. So this one was my very first, which I got in a swap package from Sue from Two Tangled Skeins. And then I got Thor, which I don't know how well you can see him, and Day of the Dead Panda from my friend Mandy Pinecone from the Mandy Pinecone Craft Podcast. And then I got this panda, pink panda, and black panda. This panda was my mascot for Winter Camp 2016. And then I got the rose, the rainbow rose. And then, oh, this way. This one is a picture of me and my mommy. And all of those were made by my dear friend Brandy. So I have lots and lots of needle minders. And so since I can't decide, I just get to look at them all. So this is my panda that I'll be working on quite a bit. So with that being said, I'm going to return you to whatever I was talking about. And my next purchase was from October House, and I just dropped yarn off my lap. So even though I went to Texas, I did support my awesome hometown, awesome home state of Arkansas. So October House in the Meadow and Pacific colorway. So these will become a shawl. So that was 2 purchases. And then my next purchase, picking up the yarn that I dropped, was from Western Sky Knits. I have Crimson Night and Peppered, which, whoa, that is not color fast at all. But yeah, that will be a shawl as well. Because I'm in a major shawl kick when I actually do want to knit, and I didn't have solid colors to do multicolored shawls with. And then the last purchase I made right before we left was from Gritty Knits, and it's Time Bomb, and they don't name their colors, it's just a number. So it's some awesome teals and grays. That's uber pretty. And then I did some shopping for a friend that I really need to get your package out, but it's coming. What else do I have? I think that's it, y'all, and which is probably a good thing because I only have 2 minutes left before my memory card is full. So thank you guys for watching, for coming back. First time viewer, thank you for making it through my first episode back from major hiatus. Hope to record soon again. So with that, I'm gonna say keep on stitching, y'all.